We're coming to you live from our Auckland Park studios. This is Prime News on SABC 3 in the top stories this evening.
The statement of intent makes it abundantly clear that if new parties are to be added to the Government of National Unity, that this has to be done in consultation.
The DA says it hasn't received any communication from the ANC regarding the expansion of the Government of National Unity.
Over the last 4 days, so much was done compared to the past several months.
The National Convention Organizing Committee says the withdrawal of legacy foundations from the participating in the dialogue this weekend has had no impact on its launch.
We want them to be documented, not in our country. They must come use our law. They must follow our Immigration Act.
Concerns are mounting over recent disruptions at public health care facilities led by members of Operation Dudula. It has just gone 8 o'clock. A very good evening to you, South Africa, and welcome to Prime News on 3. I am Paulette Nell. Let's dive right into it. The Democratic Alliance says it hasn't received any communication from the ANC regarding the expansion of the Government of National Unity. Tensions between the ANC and the DA are palpable, but neither party is willing to pull the trigger. The DA presented a plan to turbocharge the economy, which goes against the ANC's policies on a broad-based black economic empowerment, employment equity, and land expropriation.
DA leader John Steenhuisen has criticized the ANC for wanting to expand the Government of National Unity to other political parties. The ANC-NEC resolved to add other political formations after facing difficulty to pass the budget with the DA.
We entered into something called the Statement of Intent. It was signed by all parties. The Statement of Intent makes it abundantly clear that if new parties are to be added to the Government of National Unity, that this has to be done in consultation with the parties that are currently in the GNU, and such a decision will be based on the sufficient consensus clause.
The planned national dialogue is another area of contention between the main GNU partners. The DA has characterized it as lacking credibility and argues that South Africans are tired of talk shops. The party says economic growth is stagnant while poverty, inequality and underdevelopment run rampant. It wants government to bring private sector players to operate freight rail and South African ports.
How important it is that we move with speed to concession, freight rail and port terminals and end Transnet's stranglehold.
Party leader John Steenhuisen characterizes the African economy as being in ICU, which needs to be resuscitated. Samkela Masego, SABC News, Johannesburg.
The withdrawal of legacy foundation from the National Convention Preparatory Task Team has had no impact on preparations for the launch of the National Dialogue this weekend. That's according to the chairperson of the National Convention Organizing Committee, who spoke during a briefing at UNISA in Pretoria on the readiness of the event today.
It's all system go for the National Convention on Friday, which is meant to deal with the holistic outline of the national dialogue. The organizing committee says a lot has been achieved in the past 4 days compared to the last couple of months. A few days ago, several legacy foundations, including the Thabo Mbeki, the Chief Albert Lithuli and the FW de Klerk Foundation, just to mention a few, withdrew from the preparatory task team.
I don't think there is a slightest impact. And I must say, over the last 4 days, so much was done compared to the past several months.
Earlier this year, the price tag of 700 million rand for the event raised eyebrows, but the preparatory task team vowed that there would be transparency and thorough accountability for the money spent on hosting the event.
We
have systems in place as NEDLAC to make sure that all costs associated with any project we are involved with are accounted for.
As its priority, the convention will be tasked with formulating the modalities of the national dialogue this weekend and also with arranging themes to be discussed, such as a dynamic and inclusive economy, crime and corruption, as well as gender-based violence, just to mention a few. SABC News, Johannesburg.
Meanwhile, the Desmond and Leah Tutu's Foundation CEO Janet Jobson maintains the foundation's stance on why they believe the credibility and the integrity of the dialogue are now at risk.
We fundamentally believe in the idea of the national dialogue and in its potential to be an opportunity for all South Africans to reshape our country and to reshape it in truly transformative ways. And it's because of our commitment to the national dialogue that we've had to pull out of the preparatory task team and the national convention, because our feeling was that it was violating the central principles that we'd laid out with civil society at the very beginning of the journey. Principles of it being citizen-led. We found significant action taken by government that we felt was undermining citizen leadership, that it has to be meaningful, there has to be real dialogue, not just public consultation, that it needs to be fully inclusive of all South Africans, and ultimately that it needs to be completely transparent and accountable. And it was these principles that we're really defending by saying we can't endorse the National Convention as it stands.
All right, to this now, Anglican Archbishop of South Africa, Thabo Makgoba, has called on global leaders to strengthen peacemaking efforts in order to bring an end to various ongoing conflicts around the world. This as the wars between Russia and Ukraine and the Israel and Palestine conflict continues to cause tensions around the world.
The priorities of the G20 Interfaith Forum align with the priority areas of the G20 Summit. Food security, poverty, and ongoing wars around the world are some of the topics that will be discussed, with a view of developing a framework based on religious values that will help solve some of the world's most pressing issues.
Therefore, our plea as faith leaders to global leaders is to put people first, pump resources into the life-enhancing programs, and strengthen peacemaking efforts.
During the gathering, the religious leaders will be working on plans to improve the lives of poor and marginalized people around the world.
We are here at what some of us who are older see as one of the most difficult moments that we have ever lived. A moment of division, a moment of questioning, even of compassion and empathy.
The G20 Interfaith Forum in Cape Town is inspired by South Africa's theme, solidarity, equality, and sustainability, and the overarching African philosophy of Ubuntu, with which South Africa approaches its G20 presidency. 11August, SABC News, Cape Town.
Welcome back. Let's continue with this. The 3 Operation Dudula members have been released on a warning. They were arrested at the Lilian Ngoyi Clinic in Diepkloof, Soweto last week after questioning patients about their nationality and demanding identity documents. The 3 women appeared at the Orlando Magistrates Court this afternoon. They are facing charges of contravention of the National Health Act and public violence.
Outside the court, dozens of Operation Dudula members gathered to show their support for the accused. The 3 women, aged between 49 and 60, have been released on free bail pending their next court appearance. When speaking to the SABC after their release, they shared the following sentiments.
I was so traumatized.
I'm traumatized after spending Women's Day in prison. They ill-treated us.
The way they treated us, I wouldn't wish for anyone to experience that.
I'm not really okay, but I'm happy that I got released.
Later in the day, Operation Dudula members marched to the Lilian Ngoyi Clinic to demand a meeting with the facilities management.
We need them to be documented. Those who came into our country legally, we want them to be documented. Not in our country. They must come use our law. They must follow our Immigration Act.
We will not be bullied by police. Foreigners are killing them because of the very same attitude that they are giving us as South Africans. We want to protect them, but we can't protect them because they are against us.
The National Health Department has once again condemned protests by Operation Dudula and other civic groups targeting healthcare facilities.
We have since reached out to the leadership of Operation Dudula for a sit-down meeting in order to find long-lasting solution to these challenges.
Lerato Makula, SABC News in Johannesburg.
Going forward, the South African Revenue Service, or SARS, will increase its focus on debt collection. This is according to the SARS Deputy Commissioner John Stone Makubo. He was speaking at this year's Tax Indaba underway in Johannesburg. Makubo says the fiscus is owed 513 billion rand by taxpayers.
Tabling the challenges faced by the tax administration, the Deputy Commissioner says SARS will be going after those that owe the Revenue Service, underdeclare their income and have unexplained wealth. He says other areas of focus to try and bring in the revenue include dealing with illicit tobacco, fuel and alcohol. He says the informal economy, as well as goods fraudulently valued and mispricing, also need attention at ports of entry, and believe this presents another opportunity to raise revenue.
We have been in the past constrained in terms of moving in the direction of beyond third-party appointments. We've just added 100 resources that are experienced legal collectors to be able to take us that way. We've also enhanced, or are in the process of enhancing, our litigation team, because we know that people will always tend to ignore you until you get to civil judgment and until you get to attaching some assets through writs of execution.
Treasury says the reason it had decided to raise the value-added tax in the budget that was rejected earlier this year was because it had looked at a way to raise revenue that would have the least impact on economic growth. DDG at National Treasury, Chris Axelson, however, says the country will still have to engage on the VAT increase as it cannot be off the table forever.
So we say, okay, well, that's how much it's going to cost low-income households. Let's increase grants by more than that amount to overcompensate for those households in terms of the VAT increase. And I think that, that messaging we didn't get right. We didn't get that messaging right at all when we did it. And it was because it was, the VAT came out before the budget. It was a very difficult environment. But we're going to have that conversation again as a public, and to say VAT can't be off the table forever.
SABC News, Johannesburg.
Minister of Agriculture John Steenhuisen says it's a huge concern for him that South Africa is locked out of beef exporting opportunities because of the foot and mouth diseases. Steenhuisen said this on the sideline of his party's press conference earlier today. He acknowledged that the strategy being used in the country to control the disease in the last 5 to 8 years is not working and is causing significant economic harm.
Foot and mouth disease is currently affecting livestock in South Africa, with recent outbreaks reported in several provinces, particularly in the Free State and KwaZulu-Natal provinces. Minister Steenhuisen says while the Agricultural Research Council is in the final stages of developing a vaccine in the country, but in the meantime, more vaccines will be imported from Botswana.
What we have to do is embark upon a massive vaccination program, which means in the short term we're going to have to use BVI, Botswana Vaccine Institute. We have to import more vaccines there, and we're going to have a consistent river of vaccines coming in from Botswana.
CEO of the Red Meat Producers Association, Friki Mare, says current vaccinations are simply not keeping up with outbreaks and that farmers are scared.
Currently, as we speak, the situation is bad. There's I want to say, almost new outbreaks on primary farms emerging, as well as commercial farms and informal settlements daily. Vaccination do not keep up with the outbreaks. And our members are really scared.
As of July, South Africa recorded a total of 270 foot-and-mouth outbreaks across 5 provinces. Of these, 249 outbreaks remain unresolved, while 21 have been declared resolved. Diabo Seto, SABC News, Johannesburg.
To this now, the trial of the 6 men accused of mass murder of 18 people in Gobozana village in Lusikisiki last year has been postponed until tomorrow by the Mthatha High Court sitting in Lusikisiki Magistrates Court in the Eastern Cape. Today, the state called 3 witnesses, including 2 constables and a police photographic crime expert. The last witness to testify was Constable Thandazile Njube, who attended the crime scene of the late ANC politician based in KwaBhaca, Ncedisi Gijana. Gijana was killed prior to the mass murder of 18 people, and the state has linked the firearms used in his murder to the Lusikisiki murders. Njube told the court that on her arrival, Gijana's younger brother, Sisa, gave her 4 empty cartridges. She says the ballistic report indicated that the cartridges matched those collected in Gobozana village, but accused number 1, Mzuki Sim Damase, represented himself, refute the witness evidence as he argued that the crime scene was contaminated. The accused face a string of charges including murder, attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and kidnapping. Welcome back. Let's shift our focus to news further afield. Palestinians have attended the funeral of Al Jazeera journalists Anas al-Sharif and Mohammed Kreike, who were both killed with 3 colleagues in an Israeli airstrike on Sunday. The attack has been denounced by journalists and rights groups. The Foreign Press Association says it is outraged by the incident.
At least 238 journalists have been killed in Gaza since the conflict broke out in 2023. Al Jazeera journalist Anas al-Sharif has become the latest casualty, and 4 of his colleagues near Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital. Israel's military says it's killed the journalist since he was heading a Hamas cell, but Al Jazeera has rejected the claim.
Of people, children, killed, maimed, displaced, starved, humiliated, mutilated, buried alive, burnt alive, abducted, tortured, orphaned, perverted, shattered, torn apart. The measures taken do not match the level of the crimes committed so as to truly deter them.
Palestinians have honored the journalists who were killed and held a funeral procession to bury the reporters. He says what happened to these journalists is a complex Israeli crime against the journalistic family, a crime against humanity, a crime against freedom, a crime against journalism. The United Nations Human Rights Office has condemned the killing of the journalists, saying the actions by Israel's military represented a grave breach of international humanitarian law.
People keep asking us what should be done to stop Israel killing journalists. There is nothing journalists can do ourselves. With every other murder committed, the rule of law must be followed. This case is different in that here, international law is being flouted, so the process should be more intense and more urgent.
Kylie Kumalo, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Now for your sports news, the South African cricket team may have lost the opening T20 international against Australia in Darwin on Sunday, but left-arm fast bowler Kwena Maphaka was impressive in his first outing down under. The 19-year-old recorded career best figures of 4 for 20 in his 4 overs and is quietly confident about the Proteas' prospects ahead of the second match of the series on Tuesday.
Kwena Maphaka etched his name in the history books despite the 17-run defeat to the Aussies in their opening match in Darwin. The hosts came out guns blazing and looking to dispatch South Africa's bowlers to all parts. They smashed 71 runs of the first 6 overs. But Mapaka produced a brilliant spell that saw him take 4 wickets in his 4 overs while conceding just 20 runs, a career best for the teenager as South Africa bowled Australia out for the first time in a T20 international.
I think it's really just about reading the game. Obviously, when a team is coming out all guns blazing, there's a few more opportunities to take wickets. It's just about being smart and understanding what you have to do when you're faced in those situations. It depends on the wickets and the batters that you're playing against.
There are still 2 more games in the 3-match series, another one in Darwin on Tuesday and then in Cairns on Saturday, and Mpaka is confident that they can turn the tables on their opponents.
I think there's a lot to look forward to. We obviously fell short in the game, but there was still a lot of positives, and it's just about understanding the game a little bit better, reading into the 1%ers, what Australia did that we didn't do as well and what we can work forward to. And I think it's going to be a really good game tomorrow.
The second match of the series at the Marara Stadium in Darwin gets underway at 11:15 a.m. South African time. Samantha Mari, SABC News.
Well, with that, it's now time to see what the weather has in store for us. Stay with us.
Thank you very much and a very warm welcome to the weather desk. Let's take a look at those conditions over the country. Now we're going to start looking at what we can expect for tonight. Some drizzle over that low field of Mpumalanga stretching into Limpopo, but it'll be clear as we move towards most of the country for tonight. For tomorrow, that's when we see a little bit of cloudy conditions all over the country. We're still expecting some rainy conditions as we move into that interior of the Northern Cape, stretching into parts of the Northwest Free State and the northern interior of the Eastern Cape. Also still expecting some drizzle over Mpumalanga and also Limpopo. Fog patches are expected in the morning over parts of Limpopo, Mpumalanga, KwaZulu-Natal and into the southern parts of the Western Cape. Remember, with those morning fog patches, it means that visibility will be reduced. So please, let's be careful, especially those who will be on the road. Overnight temperatures, we're still expecting freezing conditions over Sandland and also over Bethlehem, with Sandland dropping down to -6. Cold conditions over Pretoria with a low of 7. Musina dropping down to 15. Durban at a minimum of 12. Maximum temperatures for tomorrow, warm conditions over Musina and also over Palabora. But remember, we do have those isolated showers and rain over those areas. It will be a cool day over Johannesburg with a high of 20. Cloudy conditions as we move towards Upington for tomorrow and also expecting a warm day, but should be cool as we move towards Cape Town. We're expecting a high of 17. Sunderland at a high of 16. External forecast now for Wednesday, we're still expecting rainy conditions as we move into that interior of the Eastern Cape, stretching towards the central parts of the country. It is going to be cool over most of the country for Wednesday, but should be warm as we move into parts of KwaZulu-Natal, stretching into Mpumalanga all the way into Limpopo. That's all the weather I have for you. Stay tuned.
That wraps up our time together this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's meet again next time. For now, good night. God bless. Pula.